Hey folks, this is Ben from Road to VR, and it is CES 2016, and we're here with Leap Motion. I have Michael here, who is the CEO of the company, and we just got to see some cool new demos that were featuring the new interaction engine that you're working on. So you can tell me a little bit about what is the function of the interaction engine?
Yeah, so our vision has always been to make technology more physical and to take some of the wonder and magic of how we use our hands every day and bring it to technology and more recently VR. And I think the interaction engine is the natural step in that direction because obviously so much of what we do physically are things like grabbing an object and moving it or tilting it, and all of that physical interaction, it turns out, is very hard to build with existing physics engines and other tools because they just didn't anticipate the sort of like nuanced physical movement that comes from an actual hand. So if a user grabs an object using a existing physics engine, it might shoot out in the other direction. So we have done a lot of user testing and also thought a lot about what the best thresholds are to tell when someone's grabbing, when they're releasing, when they are pushing an object, throwing an object, and through all of that, we want to make it as easy as possible for developers to take advantage of that and to build great experiences themselves.
Okay, and so what is the current status of the interaction engine? Are they able to work with it now?
So this is something we've been building internally for the last 6 months or so, and we've done a lot of internal user testing. We've tested it with almost 500 users externally, probably, and this is something we've shared with a handful of external developers to get feedback. The goal is certainly to make it available as an SDK, so that developers can both sort of learn from all that testing and research we've done, but also so that there can be real standardization for interactions and users don't have to sort of figure out what it means to grab from one app to another app. But but it's a sufficiently hard problem that we have been experimenting with a lot of different approaches for doing it. So I don't want to commit to a specific date, but we absolutely are building this so it can be a public developer tool, and not only so we can build demos, and we're definitely getting very close.
And you also showed us the hands inside the scene now, where you called them reprojected. Can you talk a little bit about that?
So a few months ago, we released an image hand, which was intended to capture the sort of reality that users get from having an image of their hand and seeing their own rings and watches, which really increases presence. And it also helps avoid the user being distracted by, is this knuckle joint jittering, which doesn't affect the actual interaction in the application, but would distract the user. So that was a big step forward, and we got a lot of positive feedback from that. But ultimately, the image hand was not to scale, especially with the IPD of the current peripheral. So the reprojected hand, most importantly, reprojects the image rather than just overlaying an image over our tracking, so that the hand feels much more to scale for people based on the fact that the peripheral is in front of your face, obviously, and also that the IPD isn't true IPD. But also, the goal is to make it easier for developers to take that and customize it more, so it isn't oppressive from a design perspective, and developers can still customize it. But obviously, we also still believe in other hands too. There's a place where things like a reprojected hand are the best for presence, but we certainly aren't only saying that's the right form of interaction. Robot hands still have a place, monster hands, and even the raw skeletal hand, depending on what the application is.
Great, and so that's very exciting, a lot of work happening on the software side. Now on the hardware side, today what we saw is the existing Leap Motion dev kit as is available to everybody currently, right?
Yeah, so you saw the same peripheral that with the mount that's available for everyone. And the interaction engine will definitely work on that first. But as you know, and as I think most people know, we're very focused on working with OEMs to embed our technology and our software and different modules in OEM devices. And I expect people will see major OEMs shipping products with Leap embedded next year. Or actually, this year, really, now that it's
Just after
now
the
that
new
it's
year.
this year, yes.
Of course. Great. Yeah, yeah. So actually, what we talked about, I believe, this time last year at CES was what you're calling Dragonfly. Is that your OEM piece, or have things moved on since then?
Yeah, we have a few different modules because, uh, as you know, we're very much a software company, and the part of our differentiation is that we use really proprietary, really complex software and pretty uh, commoditized, simple sort of webcam scale hardware. So uh, we are still pursuing modules like Dragonfly for OEMs that want color pass through, but we also have modules that we're building for OEMs that only want the hand tracking part. Uh, both of those are things that you'll see in the near future, but we're not 100% saying having color pass through is the only right thing and you have to have it. There's a time and a place where color pass through makes sense, and then there's a time and a place where it doesn't make as much sense.
So as far as Leap Motion as a company is concerned right now, are you guys all in on VR at this point? I know there has been some previous work in the automotive space. Is that still in development as well?
Yeah, so we are 100% in AR and VR, with the exception of the fact that the peripheral, obviously, there are hundreds of thousands of developers who use the peripheral to do all sorts of things. And even though VR and AR is probably the biggest category for those developers now, there's this vibrant developer community that builds all sorts of cool things, and they build amazing automotive demos and medical demos and such. So that part is great, and that's sort of how we tap into the broader use cases, the fact that there are really hundreds or maybe thousands of different use cases for hands. But on the flip side, we try to be very, very focused as a company. So we are 100% focused on VR and working with VR OEMs to embed the tech and making the software work better for VR. So the answer is mostly yes.
And you guys are a pretty big company, and I know that there's a whole bunch to be done on the just getting the hand tracking right, but you have also made some pretty cool demos. Do you ever see Leap Motion doing their own content?
Yeah, potentially. We definitely want to build demos so that we can sort of explore the different boundaries of hands, and we've obviously been thinking about hands for a long time. So the role of demos, I think, is not just to impress the public, but also to help create and foment creativity amongst developers. And we've also open sourced a lot of things to make it even easier for developers to build on top of that knowledge. And tools like the interaction engine are intended to make that even easier. But right now, we don't have plans to build actual content that becomes a part of our business offering that we license to OEMs. But that certainly could change. We love building. We like building content. We have a lot of people who spend a lot of time doing it. But right now, there's enough work in terms of thinking about the demos, the interaction engine, and how to make it easier for other people, whether it's our customers on the OEM side or the broader developer community. Thinking about how to best serve them by both having the best hand tracking and also the best and most powerful tools for them. That occupies all of that energy right now.
Great. Well, thank you very much. We'll be looking forward to the new interaction engine and the OEM device integration coming sometime this year. Thank you so much, Michael.
Yeah, thanks for coming.
Appreciate it.